C1. You are listening at FameTV.info. The night was quiet and dark, the sound of a woman begging for mercy came from the house. "See Nan, please, don't," Shenqingyi pleaded, as tears rolled down his face. However, Sinan turned a deaf ear, and became even more unrestrained. "What are you pretending for? Isn't this what you want?" Sinan lowered his eyes, and mercilessly ridiculed them. "No, I didn't." She tried to explain. Shenqingyi opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he was mercilessly interrupted. "If you're satisfied, go draw blood. Yunya is in pain, you can't wait." The man rose to his feet, his coat sleeve glinting with a cold metallic sheen, like his thin voice. "Pain. Wasn't she in pain?" Sinan, wait a moment. Shenqingyi looked at his back, suppressed his trembling voice, and said, "I'm your wife, can you not be so cruel to me?" "Cruel? What you have done to Yunya was not cruel." Sinan enunciated each word icily. "You clearly know that I like Yunya, but you used your identity as the great miss of Shen family to force me to marry you. Shenqingyi, do you still expect me to show you mercy?" "I didn't." Sinan didn't even give her the chance to speak. "If you dare to use any methods against me, you will have to pay the price. Do you think that by marrying me, I will fall in love with you?" Wishful thinking. After saying that, Sinan said in a fierce tone, "Hurry up and go, don't make Yunya become anxious from waiting." It was as if he hated her the most when he looked at her. Bang! The sound of the door closing came out, like a knife. It stabbed into Shenqingyi's flesh. She hugged herself, feeling a piercing pain all over her body. For the past 3 years, he had only left her with this kind of resolute back. Heh! It was her wishful thinking that Sinan, in terms of position, the He family was one of the top families in the Yun city. In terms of appearance and looks, they were the target for all the women in the Yun city. 3 years ago, she had 10 miles of red makeup on her face, and married to Sinan in a high-profile manner. She had been continuously reported in the Yun city papers for 3 days, and immediately, she became the center of attention and energy, becoming the target of envy for all the women in the Yun city. And what people didn't know was that the reason Sinan married her was because of her special blood type, as well as the coiling dragon jade that her mother had left her. Yunya was weak and needed these 2 things to keep him alive. She used this condition to allow him to marry her as his legal wife. I can't get an aunt that it was because of this that Sinan thought that she had another goal, that she was jealous of and oppressed the adopted daughter who had once possessed Shen family. Yes, Yunya was the adopted daughter of Shen family. However, how could there be so many schemes and tricks? In the end, it was just that he couldn't escape the word love. At a party 3 years ago, she had seen him from a distance, in a stiff uniform, cold and resolute. Just like that, Sinan entered Shenqingyi's eyes, as if there was an invisible binding around her. The person she had been waiting for so long, was him. Even when it became clear later that he had no love for her, but she was still like a moth to a flame, trying to change the final outcome. She was inexplicably stubborn, insisting that Sinan did not love her, but compensated her. However, 2 years had passed. Aside from being dispirited, it was also a bone-piercing pain that Sinan would only come to Cedar Yard to find her when Yunya needed blood transfusions every month, and then, he would cruelly torture her for an entire night. It was as if the exchange had turned into a deal. Shenqingyi knelt beside the bed as tears streamed down his cheeks. From the beginning till the end, Sinan had never felt the slightest bit of pity for her. Shenqingyi changed into a new set of cheongsam and walked toward the orchid yard. Even if she wasn't spoiled, she was still allowed to wear untidy clothes ever since she was young and raised. The difference between her orchid yard and her courtyard, fine-cut flowers and plants, a separate pharmacy beside the master bedroom, and expensive blood transfusion equipment imported from abroad all showed that the people living here were people with extraordinary identities. Shenqingyi disinfected himself expressionlessly and drew blood. There was no one around to help her. Even if she wasn't a doctor, she had learned how to do it after a long time. Yunya was wearing an embroidered pajamas and leaning lazily against the bed. When he saw Shinchinyi, a trace of embarrassment flashed across his face. She gently pulled at her collar to let him see that her pajamas were intentionally unbuttoned. It was all traces of an ambiguous look. "I've troubled you again, big sister, to give me blood transfusions. They all said for Si Nan to rest well, but he said that he only wants to get close to me." Yunya smiled weakly, but he didn't bother to hide the pride in his words. Shinchinyi's hand that was holding onto the equipment tightened, and said indifferently. "I'm not your sister, the Shin family did not give you a surname, and he Sinan also only has me as her wife." Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.